before they start reading, students are actually told that they are going to listen to a native narration of the story, The Secret Tunnel, and they have to read along with it, which we also call as shadow reading. Then they are asked to look at the pictures in the story and guess what the story is going to be about. At this stage, teachers function to elicit their answers, but we cannot correct them at all. While reading, teacher can play the CD of track 15 from Get Smart Plus 3 and point to each frame in the book. Students are also encouraged to do the same. After the track of the native narration is over, teacher may check students' earlier predictions on how they answer the comprehension questions. The CD can be played again while asking students to point to each speech bubble as they follow along the voice narration. After reading, teacher may ask students comprehension questions such as following, like in frame 1, where are the children? Or in frame 2, what is in one of the boxes? Or in frame 3, where does the tunnel start? Because they might have the real sense of what the story is all about, students may answer these questions with more confidence. So today kita akan buat role play. Alright? Role play di mana awak akan menjadi watak-watak dalam cerita ini. Senang. Ada setiap orang ambil satu watak dalam cerita ni. Okey, kalau kita tengok dalam buku tu. Watak Samantha. Siapa Samantha? Yang mana satu? Samantha, the blonde girl. Rambut kuning akan diambil oleh Safia. Safia Maizara. And then narrator. Siapa yang akan cerita? Who are you? Okay, biar siapa you will be the narrator. And then the guy, the boy. Another one, the boy. You will be the boy. Okay, you volunteer. Nama dia apa? What's the name? Kevin. Okay, you will be the Kevin. And then last but not least, Vanessa. Who will be Vanessa? You are? Amanina will be Vanessa. Okay, very good. So, sekarang kita nak buat cerita ni. Kita nak mainkan watak penceritaan cerita ini. Ikut dalam buku, cuba ikut gaya, cuba pronounce the words dalam cerita tu betul-betul. Cuba baca cerita tu dengan betul-betul semasa awak melakonkan cerita ini. Okay? Alright.
Samantha, Vanessa and Kevin are at Kevin's grandmother's house. They are in the attic. Wow, look at all that things. Don't open things. They my grandma the thing. What in the boxing? This box is open. A map with a tunnel. It's in the park. Let's go. It's a 8:15 now. It's later. Let's go tomorrow. Next day, the children go to the park. Let's cross the street and go to the tree. The tunnel does stairs. Start here. The tunnel is very dark. I don't like it here. Let's go back. Come on, Vanessa. Where Elmo does now turn right. Vanessa sees something on the floor of the tunnel. Ahmad, I had mine. Be quiet. When they open the tunnel door, the children see Grandma Garden. Grandma, welcome the TSLB family. Do you know about the tunnel? Of course, I do. Sit down and have some biscuits. It's the book about the tunnel. That's all about the story. Thank you!
For this part, this is called line jumping.
Yes.
So, you will listen to what I will ask about the story. If the answer is yes, you jump to the right. Lompat ke kanan kalau betul jawapan dia. Kalau apa yang saya cakap tu salah, awak jump to the left, lompat kiri. Okay? Siapa yang salah terkeluar, kena duduk. Alright? Okay, let's try. The children are in Kevin's grandmother's house. Kalau yes, lompat kanan. Kalau no, jump to the left. Pastikan lompatan tu tidak terkena kawan dan pastikan jarak terjaga. The children is at Kevin's grandmother's house. Pada gambar yang pertama. Okey, yang kedua, the tunnel starts at the tree. Okay. Vanessa see 3 cats in the tunnel. Okay. Grandma gives some biscuits at the end of the story. Huh? Grandma give some biscuits at the end of the story. Okay. Vanessa say Afiq kalah. Okay, Afiq, sit down. So when someone's kalah, kita sit down. Okay. Alright. They go to the tunnel at 8:15 on that day. They go to the tunnel at 8:15. So for this second part of the video, I will reflect upon the lesson, the language art lesson that I carry out in the classroom, in which we learn about a story called The Secret Tunnel. So what I observed during the lesson is that the students enhance their problem solving skills when they engage in a practical manner during the lesson engagement. They tend to be more creative in solving problems, in doing activities that I ask them to do. they are getting more intelligent. This will also improve their verbal and spatial abilities, and at the same time, it improves their memory function, either long or short-term memories, because the requirement for them to act out the storylines needs them to become more active in their memorization skill. Students also would have enhanced their creative thinking capacity. Next, the benefit of having a language art lesson during my classroom activity is that the students are more flexible and their attitude toward English language as overall improve, because they seem like English is fun and they have a positive attitude toward English itself and also the English culture. So at this point, I would like to see if the objectives of the lesson is achieved or not. So from what I've written out in the beginning of the lesson, the objectives, first of all, to listen and read the story for pleasure. At the end of the day, at the end of the lesson, it seems like the students enjoy the literature, enjoy the story, and they actually listen properly when they were asked to listen to a narration of the story with the track 15 from the Get Smart Plus 3 CD. So they do listen the story and they are able to read the story for the sake of their pleasure, reading literature for fun, and also for knowledge, to understand the English language itself. The second objective, to act out the story with a role play performance. Yes, we are able to achieve that. We are able to have a classroom performance in front of other students, and we are able to record it, and they are able to act out each of their roles perfectly, like how I've wanted them to do. And last but not least, the objective of the lesson is students to comprehend the story and consolidate its vocabularies. At the end of the lesson, they actually learn more new vocabularies. They understand the story by understanding each of the meanings of the words. So all of the objectives of the lesson are, alhamdulillah, achieved, and is what I have imagined I wanted to achieve. Next, I've also made some SWOT analysis in which I inspect what are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats that can be detected from the lesson, from what we have conducted in the classroom. So first of all, strengths. So in the lesson, from what I've been observing from the feedback of the students, they do enjoy the classroom. They say that this kind of lesson is fun. Language arts is always fun, it's interesting for them. So English is regarded as a fun subject. This will make their learning of acquiring new knowledge is more effective, because the classroom engagement, the classroom conduct is different than usual, because English, like most of the time, they seem to sit down at the desk and they do the task given to them. They write, they listen, they write, they speak. But with language arts, there are a lot more possibilities that they can do. The possibilities are endless. The activities that they can do is endless. Okay. So from the lesson, one of them is that they need to act out a play. They need to role play the story again, and they have to become the characters of the story. So it's not just about them reading the story, it's about them experiencing the story by becoming the characters themselves. This will eventually enhance their learning. It's actually making them remember the learning of that day better, because what I've said before, learning by practicing is better than learning through theories. And last but not least, what I can see here is their vocabulary strengths is more consolidated, because they keep asking, sir, what is the meaning of this word? Sir, I don't understand this word, because they want to act out the story. They want to feel what the lines are all about. So they need to know the words. And at the end, they know more vocabularies. Okay, let's look at the weaknesses of this classroom engagement. So one of them is that the mixed methods of the learning may confuse the students, because they are experiencing various possibility of learning. So it's become mixed. They need to role play, they need to jump, they need to be exposed, they need to listen. So it somehow may confuse certain students, not all of them, but certain only. Okay, next, students are too dependent on the teacher because of this mixed ways of teaching. They are dependent on the students, on the teacher's instruction, because they cannot act out on their own. They cannot do things on their own as usual. They need to wait for the teacher's instruction. So in language art classroom, students, even though they tend to be more creative, but they still become too dependent on the teacher. And the third weakness that I can sense from this classroom is that some students are unable to understand the storyline. This is because of their inability to understand the words in the story, to understand the story itself, because maybe they are lack of vocabulary competence, maybe they are lacking in the grammar and discourse competence. So they can't read it very well, they cannot read the story, and it makes some of them feel left out. Okay, some of them feel left out because some of the students have a low level of mastery in speaking and reading. They cannot, even though they were asked to act out the story, they cannot read it out very well. If you can see from my videos of the role play, they cannot read certain words very well, and it makes them to act out the characters more difficult. And also, yeah, they are incompetent with certain English skills, not just reading, but also considered to in skills of listening, reading, and writing. So in the case of opportunity, in the element of opportunity, we can see that the time quality and the time management is structured very well, because we want to make full of the schedule class schedule. We have to make sure that the activities carried out are adhering to the time given in the classroom. And then also it increases the bond. The opportunity is that the teacher can increase the bond between the students. They can actually feel or enjoy the quality time together. The next one, there is an opportunity for teachers to increase multiple language skills in students, because they're just not learning about reading, but they learn about how to speak English. They also learn how to listen properly. They also learn how to write properly, because some of them jot down things to make them memorize the story in order to carry out the story. Okay, and then they also improve their well-known issues such as motivation and attitude. Some of them are unmotivated to learn English and have a passive attitude towards English, but then with this language art lesson, this role play, this all jumping line activity makes them more interested to join in and understand the lesson given on that day. So they are more motivated, they are more engaged with the learning. And next one, there are also an opportunity to improve cross-curricular elements of knowledge, because they're just not learning about English. They also learn about the relationship between families, the relationship between grandmothers and their grandchildren. They also learn about the environment, because they learn new vocabularies, they learn new concept of context. Like they need to go through the tunnel, they need to go under the tree. They also learn about time, because in the story they're also telling about time. It's 8:15. They cannot go right now, they have to go tomorrow to the secret tunnel. So there are a lot of cross-curricular elements that they may have acquired. Okay. For the next part, I would like to add on the fact that they can increase their value. So this is a continuation from the opportunity element of the SWOT analysis. So the value that they learn in this lesson is that they have to stay together, play together, and win together. Because the story itself circles around an adventure for these children to find out what is at the end of the tunnel, what can they find from the treasure map. So they do it together. They didn't leave anyone behind. Even though Vanessa in the story seems scared and want to leave the tunnel, but then she stays because the value of staying together is important. They face the hardship, they face the sweet juice of victory at the end together. Everything, they do it together. That's the value that they learn today. In the classroom, I have drawn the student attention towards this value of the story, because I want them to learn this important value. Okay, it's not just about learning English, but learning how to be a person, how to be a individual with integrity. And this value can actually be further explained. I have actually further explained and discussed with students using their first language, mother tongue, because I want them to understand in the scope of reality, not just about English. I want them to use their mother tongue in discussing this value. Okay, and then I also ask them further questions related to the story that can enhance this value. For example, I ask them, do you like working together? Do you enjoy role play, do things together, and finding things together, and learning together? So I ask them questions like that. I ask them, if you enjoy working together, is it easy? Is it easy to work with people? Is it easy to communicate with your friends to achieve a certain solution? Last but not least in the SWOT analysis is the element of threats. So what I've observed in the session, in the teaching and learning session of language art, is that there is disruption in the classroom. This actually disturbs the flow of the activities. This disruption comes from the students themselves. They tend to, some of the students, not all of them, some of the students tend to not follow what I have directed them to do. Even though they follow, but then they went out from the direction. They do their own things, and sometimes they feel bored following the classroom activity. Then they run around, they fail the SOP, they try to mess up, to do jokes with their friends. It seems destructive for the classroom session. And then there are also the case of lack of acceptance in engaging with the classroom activities. Some students are shy, some students are passive, and these students tend to not to give a care about what the activities are all about. They even don't want to join to do the role play because they have a passive attitude towards English language, and they're not really active students. They are more tends toward being an introvert. Okay, another thread that I can see from the lesson is that there are too many simultaneous activities are being conducted at the same times. For example, when we conduct the role play, some students are doing the props, they try to draw the map, they try to find bugs. Some students are practicing the script, some students like make up their friends. It seems like at the same time there are a lot of things to be handled, makes it hard for me as a teacher to evaluate each one of them and to direct what is the right thing for them to do at that time. That's why there's a disruption happen during that time, because too many simultaneous activities happen. It seems like some of them goes out of direction. Okay. In conclusion, I am so excited to take what I have learned from the language art classroom into my student teaching and further down the road into my classroom. I have learned that language arts is not just about the materials that you want to teach the students, but the manner in which you teach them. I want to create an environment inside my classroom that makes learning safe so that my students can fully explore and create. I know that this should be applied to everything that we do in the classroom, but it has been made abundantly clear to me that in the language art classroom. Thanks, Dr. Sabri, for practicing us with what you preach, and you have turned my language arts experience around, and now I actually feel more confident that I can make language arts fun and engaging for all my students to come. Thank you for watching the video.